So Leah, I have something to tell
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm,
The other day, Alfred and I were like trying to figure out what to eat. And like I guess both of us were really hangry.
same.
So like I want him to figure it out. He wanted me to figure it out. And we just couldn't like come to a like
Yeah.
consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? You know what? Sometimes I feel like you don't even love me because when I'm hungry, you're never trying to make me food. And then Alfred said, he looked at me, he stopped. He was like, can I do this thing? And then he just was like, and I will love you. And I was like, I'm Lamont,
And I'm Leah.
and you're tuning into the
The Lamont
Lamont
and
and
Leah
Leah podcast.
podcast.
Welcome to the Lamont and Leah podcast. Today is February and we are in the month of love.
And today we are talking about vulnerability, which is a scary word.
It can be. So let's get into it because it's just you and I.
All right.
All right. So when you think about vulnerability, what comes to mind?
Scary.
For some people, they think about weakness. Like, I'm not going to be vulnerable in front of that person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not weak.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I think. I don't like it.
Yeah, other people feel like they're just being exposed, being laid raw.
That's a weird phrase, but yeah.
Or like, yeah, raw on the inside. Like the insides are opening up and it's raw for the world to see.
Okay. That's very visual. To me anyway, that's visual. But yeah, I get you. I get you.
Yeah. And then other people are just scared of the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
So we should define vulnerability. And we're actually really talking about a specific vulnerability. We're talking about emotional vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
So what would your thoughts of emotional vulnerability mean?
Using context clues, I would think emotional vulnerability specifically would probably be when you are either open about what your feelings are, or you're being receptive to someone else's feelings. I'm not sure.
I agree.
Lamont leaves camera.
I felt like the fan was being super loud for no reason.
Okay. But then back to my thing. Which I guess doesn't really seem like that bad of a thing, but for me personally, it would really depend on who, like my relationships, yes, friendships, questionable, strangers, coworkers, absolutely not.
and that's fair. That's fair because Dr. Brene Brown says that when we are being vulnerable, we should only be vulnerable with the people who deserve to hear our stories.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone deserves to hear our stories or to be part of an inner part of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Makes
being
sense.
emotionally vulnerable, being is sorry. So being emotionally vulnerable involves the process of acknowledging our emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
just being aware and acknowledging, especially the uncomfortable and the painful ones. It's less about acknowledging pleasant emotions such as love and joy, and more about unpleasant emotions like anger, shame, anxiety, loneliness, and hurt,
Hmm.
among others.
Interesting. I didn't really think of it that way. I guess when I'm upset, I'm very vocal about it. Why? Usually not I'm not vocal about the why, but if I'm angry, you're gonna know.
So, yeah, you being angry and letting people know that you're angry, that may not be the best or useful way to communicate, right? I think it's great that like you're able to like express your anger amongst your family and they know that you're angry, but unless you're being very clear in your communication why you're being angry, I don't think it fosters an environment for change.
Probably not.
And so, like in their heads, they might just be like, "Oh, Leia's angry again. She'll get over it. It'll go back to normal." And yada yada yada. Versus like, no, this is why I'm angry. This is exactly why I'm angry, and I need this thing to change.
Hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Hmm.
All right. So think back to a time when you felt vulnerable. What did this feel like? Were you anxious, scared, maybe a little bit self-conscious?
Hmm. I'm trying to think of one because, like, of course, now I'm on the spot. So I'm like, I've never been vulnerable. What are you talking about?
I'm pretty sure everyone who's listening has been vulnerable at one point in their life.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I think that's just one of those things that pretty much everyone experiences. Um, Let me think of a time. Man, Lamont, you go first. I can't even think.
Let me think. So, what did it feel like? A time where I was anxious, scared, maybe a bit self conscious. Um, I guess, well, the first thing that popped to mind was a time where I was very vocal about this guy who was running for office who was bullying me.
Hmm.
And I was like, he should not be in office. And I let people know. I'm not sure if he actually made the office or not. I can't remember if he actually got in. But I
Mm-hmm.
was I was being vocal about it. But then at the same time, I was running for office and I didn't get my office that year
Mm-hmm.
because it was a popular vote versus like who would actually
Mm.
do the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that felt kind of crappy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was proud of myself because I was stood up for talking against a bully, but then a teacher tried to connect the two and like missed the mark where he was like, you were saying all these things about this one guy and yet like you missed out on your chance for office because this guy got this thing. Do you think there's a correlation? And I was like, no, there's no correlation. The guy that they voted in office, I doubt he's going to even work hard for our students, first
Mm-hmm.
of all. Second of all, the other guy is a bully.
Yeah.
And I don't think someone like that should be in leadership, not at our school.
Yeah.
And I'm not a bully and I'm willing to work hard for my fellow students and they know it. So I don't understand why they didn't vote me in office.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did because the other guy was more popular
Yeah.
and they were all friends and
Yeah. That's how
whatever.
it is in school, though. Well, I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
that's how any vote is, unfortunately. But
So
let's
yeah.
not talk about politics.
But that did not feel good. Like that
No.
whole experience did not feel good. Um it was
Mm-hmm.
very harmful and painful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I that reminded me of a situation in high school that I had. I mean, it wasn't really a situation, but it was kind of like just a moment where I did feel vulnerable. We were on a class trip. This was my senior year. And this particular trip, every time we took it, at the very end of the trip, they'd have this kind of like open stage moment where they would ask like seniors to come up and just share some like words of advice, right? If we wanted to. We didn't have to. And I don't know why I felt compelled to, because like I wasn't the most popular person at my school, but I wasn't like, bottom of the food chain, but I wasn't whatever. And I went up there and I shared from my heart, and I was so nervous. I was like, and I don't really have too much of an issue with public speaking, but I was like shaking. Um, yeah, I was like shaking, so I was super anxious. I was scared. Of course, I wasn't even thinking about what I was wearing until I was standing there, and I was like, "What am I wearing? What is this outfit? Do I look okay?" You know. So like all of the above, what you said: anxious, scared, self-conscious, definitely. Um, but I mean, it turned out okay, which is good.
That's great. And like, do you feel like it was a really rewarding experience for you?
No.
Okay.
I
All
don't
right.
think I don't think anyone listened to me. They're just like, oh, okay, it's just Leah talking. I'm like, all right, sweet, thanks. But
But like,
whatever.
how did you feel after you did it? Like, were you proud of yourself? Were
Yeah, I think I had put something into words that I had been okay, so my advice was pretty much just like taking chances and just trying new things. And I was telling them that like my way of doing it, even when I'm like really nervous, including of going up there, was pretty much just say, okay, 1, 2, 3, jump, and then I jump, I just do the thing, don't even think about like whatever, and then I'll deal with the aftermath, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. And so, I mean, it was pretty good because did exactly what I said. Like, even I just like 1, 2, 3, jump. I stood up, I went and I said it my thing, and then I walked away.
I think that's great. I think that's great. And these feelings of being anxious, scared, or self conscious, these are completely normal feelings when acting or being vulnerable. In fact, it is part of the whole experience. If there was if there was no threat of potential experiencing emotional harm or pain, then it would not feel apprehensive or uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So
I think
it's just part of the
something,
human experience.
yes, but I guess a question if I'm being a pessimist, because I'm not in a good mood today. So, from the pessimist side, why would I want to feel uncomfortable? Why would I want to do anything that makes me feel like this? You know?
Well, Leah, as you were sharing your story and I asked you the follow-up questions, like you followed through on what you said that you would do. And that kind of felt great in the moment. Even
Mm,
though like you didn't feel so great going up, doing it, all these thoughts were going through your head. Once you had done what you had accomplished or set yourself out to, you were like, yes, I did it. This is a proud moment for myself.
mhm,
And so you still had to work your way through all of those emotions.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's what being vulnerable is about. It's not being like, oh, this is pleasant, so do it and be okay. It's taking a stance and working your way through it to get to the other side.
So is it like a learning thing? Like you're learning what you're capable of or learning
I think
about how you process
I think that's all part
emotions?
of it. I think it's all part of it, right?
Okay.
And
So
like
it's a growth thing.
learning like what's worth it for you and what's not worth it for you.
Yeah. So it's like a growth thing. It's like
Yeah.
learning about yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So being vulnerable means that you're taking the time to acknowledge your difficult emotions instead of acting on them right away.
Mm,
So in the case like if you were to be like instead of doing the 1, 2, 3 jump, if you were to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then like you're like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do this. It's too hard. Like I'm just not gonna do it. That's you acting on it right away, and you just missed a growth moment.
mhm,
Whereas you were like, okay, like this is hard. I feel really nervous, but I'm just gonna do this anyways. 1, 2, 3, jump. Blah.
mhm.
That was you acknowledging the difficult emotions and working your way through those difficult emotions.
Mhm. What about your situation with the
Mine was
bully?
just a hard conversation and
Mhm,
it felt very misunderstanding. I don't regret having it,
mhm.
but it was just really, really hard. And I'm glad I didn't back down or just silence myself.
Yeah. So the
Right. So I
so
continued to work through the hardness of all the emotions that I was feeling.
so is the your vulnerable moment was the act of going to the teacher or counsel or whoever and being like, this is what this person's done to me, or was it the other situation with the teacher?
It was sharing like the bullying, and then it was also sharing that he was wrong
Mm-hmm.
and the correlation,
Oh, okay.
which was very scary, hard for me. But like I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no, like I'm not gonna stay silent and let this
Yeah.
pass.
So it's the act of speaking up for
Yeah,
yourself
yeah,
and possibly other people.
yeah.
Okay. I'm tracking. I'm tracking.
All right, all right. So if we're thinking about vulnerability, it can be a two-step process.
Mm,
The first is simple: observing your emotions. For example, observing that you are feeling angry, sad, anxious, without thinking about it or acting on it.
okay.
The next step would be validating your emotions. How might you go about this? Validating your emotions would mean reminding yourself that it's okay to feel whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're going through. And this means that there's no judgment or self criticism. So we're not going into that head voice of, or those inner thoughts of, I'm stupid for feeling this, I'm dumb for feeling this, I'm not good enough, no one's listening, and
Mm,
stuff. That's
okay.
all judgment and self criticism.
Mm, okay.
So, how, like, I feel like most people practice vulnerability in strong relationships.
Yes.
How does vulnerability show up in your relationship?
Um, Probably just general communication, like if I'm feeling some type of way and I need to convey it to whoever, if I need to convey it to my partner, to my siblings, to my friends, whatever, like I'm guessing that's a time when I feel vulnerable because I'm not sure how they're going to react on whatever I'm saying, whether it's like, oh, I'm feeling sad today, or oh, you did something and we need to talk about it.
Yeah. So, I would definitely say uncertainty is a big part of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Yup.
Um, for me and for me and my partner, I hate the unpleasant feelings. They arise. They
Yeah.
do, but I hate them. And so on the inside, I'm like, oh, I don't want to share this. But I'm like, you gotta share it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
you just gotta. And it usually works out fine.
Yeah. I mean, the yes. I mean, for me as well, it usually works out fine. But I know there are a lot of people that don't have the pleasantry of having a relationship, whether it's like a romantic relationship or a parental relationship, familial relationship, where it is fine half the time. Um, because I know some people like that. I know a lot of people who just completely do not talk to a single person. They don't express themselves, mostly because they've just been, shot down so much.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
So the breakdown of trust and
Mm-hmm.
intimacy, right? So the reason why we're vulnerable with these people in our strong relationships is we're building intimacy and we're building trust. And relationships are built on these communication principles
Mm-hmm.
to bring us closer together. But if I'm struggling to be vulnerable, I've probably experienced too many times of being shot down,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm not wanting to
Yeah. Hmm. But yeah, the trust thing is big. uh huh. Yeah. I don't
yeah,
really have too much to say on that because like I'm fortunate enough to have decent enough relationships with most of my, family and my partner and his family. For the most part, it's all right. There are a few things I don't bring up. And there are a few people that I struggle to like really open up to. But
and why do you not bring those few things up?
I've been met with anger. And then I'm also worried about like being mad with anger. So like as as an example, right? There's certain topics that if I brought them up with my mom, I would get in trouble, you know? Those same topics I'm worried to bring up with most other people because of it. Even
Mm,
if I'm talking to someone who's like super open-minded, they know me, like I know that this is an issue for them, whatever the topic may be, it's still hard to bring it up because I've just been like in the past gotten in trouble, quote unquote, for it, you know? So, yeah, like you're saying about the trust thing, like it's definitely, there are a few topics I like, trust is broken with everyone because I don't want to go through that again, even though they're not my mom.
right, right. So vulnerability, I think, starts in the beginning of a relationship and is through present throughout the whole entire relationship, right? So
Yeah.
we're always testing,
Hmm.
right? So even if you can trust your friends or your partners with the simple things, such as like being kind, being on time, being respectful. These are little tests of like, how are you showing up? Can
Hmm.
I trust you? Consistent. Do I feel safe with you?
Hmm.
Um, and if our friends are constantly late or being disrespectful or not being kind, we start tailoring ourselves to protect ourselves.
Hmm.
That's just the
For sure.
nature of the human experience.
Yeah.
So there is a deeper level of trust that is needed for a relationship to survive.
Hmm. For sure. um I guess my other question is, what things, okay, so being emotionally vulnerable, good. You know, like
Yeah, it can
learning
be.
to, yeah, like learning to trust people, learning things about yourselves, good things. What does one do if they continuously get like, I can't think of the word, like denied by someone, or pretty much like this vulnerability is taken advantage, like they continually get hurt by one particular person or relationship or whatever. And this doesn't have to be like romantic or just,
Right.
familial, like across the
So
board.
when I talk about intimacy, I'm not talking about like sexual,
Yeah.
right? I'm talking about closeness, about sacredity, like the sacredness of the relationship,
Hmm.
right? So if that person cannot trust their person, whether it be their partner, their family, their friends, or coworkers, there will be a lack of intimacy. It's just a natural human response,
Hmm.
right? So even though it may be hard to open up, the challenge is worth it to build and help grow stronger relationships. But not every relationship is for us.
Hmm.
So that's when we need to determine, like, is this relationship something that I'm willing to invest in, something that I'm willing to go further in? And if so, then I'm going to like still struggle and dig deep and try to show up. If not, then it's okay for me to let this relationship go or to just show up like this to maintain safety of the emotional self.
Yeah. Because there are some relationships that you really can't just completely disconnect from. Like if you work somewhere,
Right.
you can't just be like, oh, not talking to this person anymore. Like, I mean, you
Right.
could, but that might
So
affect your work.
so for me, like let me go. I was struggling with a coworker when I first got hired on my job.
Hmm.
Um, me and that coworker just couldn't seem to mesh, right? So now, um, and I had buffers and people in between, but those buffers and people in between ended up leaving to do different things with their
Hmm.
life because they were ready, you know.
Yeah.
And so now it's just like me and her, and like other people have come into the picture. Um, but I quickly had to tailor back. So like I was super hurt. And she was too. And it was this weird thing. So Let me see if I can tell the story. I was using some of my tech skills that I learned from the Lamont and Leah show and podcast to put together a video project to present to like a lot of people on the outside world. I did great. I did great. Leah taught me well. Like it turned out really good. But this other person, I guess they were so subconscious that they didn't want to see the video. And so like I jokingly said, like, oh, friend, this other friend who was a coworker of both of us. I was like, did you see what I did to this coworker's like face? Like I'm brilliant, right? I didn't do anything. I just went like I was trying to like provoke them into seeing the video.
Yeah.
But like it was just a joke. Like I was just joking. I thought we were in a good place that I could joke like that. My bad. We were not in a good place. So that person was like, they were this close to like calling HR.
Oh, jeez.
And they talked to our supervisor director to talk to me directly. I apologized. I was like, you know what? I didn't do nothing. I'm sorry. I did this because of this. Like, I just wanted you to see it. Because it turned out really well. And you looked okay. Like you did great. You did great in your piece. And I wanted you to like see it so you could be reassured that like the work that you put in, it came out in good quality, you know. But that I was like at that point I knew like that my buffers, like my other coworker and that boss were getting ready to like depart and leave. I was like, man, I cannot be close to this person. So from now on, like when I show up to work, it is about work. No joking, no personal stories, no whatever. It's work, kids. How do you get from point A to point B in this system? Because they struggle with like the higher point of technology, and I get it and understand, and that's it. And I feel like that has been a very successful relationship for us. And we're never going to be like closer buddy or friends. We're never going to hang out outside of work, and that's completely fine.
Okay. So yeah, I just want to bring that up because I know we had been talking before this, like more ideally, you know, like, oh, this is how it should be, yada, yada, but not everyone has that opportunity to actually have that. So yeah, I think
So really
yeah.
quick, I just want to talk about the gift of vulnerability.
Okay.
If you are willing to be open and share difficult emotions with your partner, and your partner is willing to like receive and accept and reciprocate, it signals to them that it is okay to do the same. By challenging ourselves to be vulnerable, we are helping them to be vulnerable in the future too. And that is should practice vulnerability. So there's all these moving components and parts, but this is why being vulnerable is very helpful.
But also protect yourself when you need to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Absolutely.
I think a whole other episode could definitely be about like identifying like relationships and things with people that may not be worth it. Or, you know.
True.
Yeah.
True. Maybe we'll do a part 2.
Yeah, maybe we will. Let's go ahead. I get some water and then we'll be back so we can talk about just a few more like benefits of being vulnerable, and maybe some ways that we can try to practice vulnerability.
Sounds good.
Aloha, Lamont.
Aloha.
This month, February, since we are still in February, barely, I see the end of February on the horizon, which is also my birthday. I see it. It's coming up. But it is still Mahina o Olelo Hawaii, which is the month of Hawaiian language appreciation and learning and speaking and sharing the Hawaiian
so Black
language.
people and Hawaiian people share a month?
I guess so. But the whole months for different people's thing is a whole other topic, which we won't get into today. I have some words about that. But I thought for today, let's just learn or I'll share with you and share with everyone else some Hawaiian words and phrases that you might want to know, or that you might already know.
Okay.
We'll see. So I guess the first one, aloha.
Aloha means hello.
Aloha means goodbye as well.
It does mean goodbye.
Aloha also can mean love.
I know that.
Yes, aloha can also mean love. If you want to say hello particularly to someone, you would say aloha e whoever. So
Okay.
let's say aloha e Lamont.
Aloha e Leah.
And then just going off of that real quick, how are you? Is pehea oi.
One more time.
Pehea oi.
Pehea oi.
Pretty good. Yep. So I would say aloha e Lamont. And you'd say,
Oh, aloha e Leah.
and I would say pehea oi.
I'll be like, I'm fine.
My ka'i. Okay. So another one is mahalo. Means thank
Mahalo.
you.
Is that thank you?
Yep. And you can say thank you very much by just adding some words at the end. So you'd say mahalo nui loa. So thank you very much.
Mahalo mui oya.
Nui loa.
Nui loa.
Yep.
I think I was trying to add some Spanish in there.
I guess so. Let's see. What's another one? Trying to think. Oh, if you're trying to say another way of saying goodbye instead of just saying aloha would be ahui ho. I mean, see you later.
Oh, ahoy ho.
Ahui ho.
Ahui ho.
Yep. Ahui ho. Let's see. What's another one? Any words you want to know? Maybe I know them.
Family.
Ohana.
I know that from Lilo and Stitch.
I think most people know that from Lilo and Stitch, which really upsets me because I think a lot of people don't realize that it's Hawaiian and they
Really?
use it for a lot of things, even though they have no Hawaiian anything within whatever they're doing. I know so many people who have now like Ohana tattoos. I've seen businesses who are like Ohana dentistry, and I'm just like, are you Hawaiian? No? Okay. It's
Also
just a
family dentistry.
yeah,
Okay.
and I was like, I guess. I guess. I don't know. That's interesting to me.
How do you say dance in Hawaiian?
Dance? What is
Dance.
dance? It's no, let's sing. How the heck do you say dance? Lamont's putting me on the spot
You were
here.
asking.
I know, but I didn't think you'd be asking me words like dance. I'm gonna feel so stupid when
Well,
I
I
look
was
this
thinking
up.
like hula. So like there's a hula. So I was like, how would you say dance?
Well, hula, you would just say hula. Hula, you just say hula. Apparently dance is ha'a.
Okay.
I don't know, I never heard that before. I think when we talk about dance, we're literally just saying hula because that's pretty much
So the dance.
yeah, that's pretty much the dance. Let's
Ooh,
see
how do you
what's
say party?
party pa'ina.
Okay. So how is that different from a
You're gonna say luau, aren't you?
luau? Yeah.
Okay, so fun fact. Luau is a type of food that is served at a pa'ina.
Ah.
Luau does not mean party.
Well, why does everyone call it a luau? Like we're gonna have a luau.
I'm not sure. That's another like non-Hawaiian thing that kind of just like just took a word and went with it.
Okay, okay.
But
And so
luau is a type of food that is served at a pa'ina.
interesting.
Yeah.
So all the Hawaiians just capitalize on that like dumb Americans. Come join us. We're gonna have a luau today. Like it's fine. Like we
So
know it's
if you look,
Anina, but like we're gonna tell the like people like they're going to a luau and they're gonna pay lots of money and have fun.
if you look outside of tourism, everyone calls it a pa'ina. They're like,
Interesting.
oh, we're gonna have a first birthday pa'ina. We're like, oh
Okay.
yay. Like we're having a patina down at the beach. We're like, all right, let's go. If you see someone use luau, you're just like, okay. I mean, I know what you
Curious.
mean. Like we know what it means, but patina is the word.
There you guys go. So if you're gonna have a company luau, you might want to have a company panina instead.
Patina.
Pan- yeah, what she said.
He added an extra letter.
Did I?
Okay, if you're trying to say let's go, so like let's leave or like come on, let's go, or even like
Something Al
let's
would say to
let's go
me.
do something. Um the phrase, and I say this a lot at home, even though I don't think my siblings know what it means. It's hele mai.
E
Hele mai.
hele mai.
Hele mai. Let's go. Oh, another good one. Welcome. E como mai.
El como mai.
No, e como mai.
E
E.
como mai.
Yes, e como mai. Welcome. And then, I mean, I know it's past time, but Mele Kaliki Maka means Merry Christmas.
Aww.
I should have brought this up a few months ago.
No, it's cool. It's totally cool. It's totally cool.
Alrighty. Again, oh, I forgot. Happy birthday, since it's almost my birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Leah. You'll be
So how old are
celebrating
you?
your 30th
30th.
birthday on the 28th.
Yes. So how you say happy birthday, so you guys can leave it down in the comments, is Hauoli la hanau.
One more time.
Hauoli
Haoli
la
la
hanau.
hanau.
Close enough. Let's get back to the topic.
We are back. So we are going to talk about the benefits of being we're going to talk about the benefits of being vulnerable.
There you go.
So
Lamont knows how to
Leah, what is one benefit that you might think of to being vulnerable?
Being more self-aware. I think that was the biggest thing that we were talking about earlier, which I think I've mentioned it like 5 times now, is something that I am working really hard on, and actually it's a little scary sometimes. But yes, being more self-aware of like knowing what your emotions are, how you manage your emotions, and like what you know to do to, like, either work with them, fix them, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, so it can definitely being vulnerable, practicing vulnerable with people who can hold that space for us.
Yes.
It can help us by going through our emotions and the patterns, by recognizing our defense mechanisms and our emotional blind spots. For instance, when I was younger, I had stage fright and had difficulty out overcoming the anxiety or wow, I cannot talk today. Okay, so when I was younger, I had stage fright and I had difficulty overcoming my anxiety for class presentations. These feelings of anxiety were often ignored and repressed and contributed to my social anxiety. Even after I had gotten over my stage fright, I have found myself getting nervous or anxious when going to social gatherings. Wow, social gatherings. I think I was trying to like gathering social like I was like
Yeah. I got you. I got you.
I couldn't quite understand why it was, but when I realized I had never really acknowledged, never really expressed or really looked at what was going on, this is what held me back. And once I was able to like identify, I was able to start putting in the work and allow the painful feelings to happen, but yet work my way through them.
Exactly. What are some other things, Lamont?
So since we were just talking about anxiety, right? Some people think when they are being vulnerable, it is a recipe to increase anxiety. but
Mhm.
in fact, it can do the opposite.
Mhm. Hmm.
So, if people are suffering from anxiety, they may feel bad that it's bad or harmful, and that negative emotion they are just afraid of. There's so
Yeah.
much fear surrounding that.
Yeah.
When we are being or practicing vulnerability, we send different messages to our brain. We acknowledge our emotions and acknowledge our experiences. It signals to ourselves that negative emotions are not all bad. We
Hmm.
can reduce our anxiety overall when we realize just because I'm feeling something negative or unpleasant, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
so I don't
point.
have to fear it anymore.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's like, what is that? Pavlov's dogs or whatever it is? Like where they ring the bell and the dogs would like
Salivate.
drool, like salivate. It's kind of like the same thing.
How so?
Where,
Like,
well,
how
I'm
so?
thinking like if you put yourself in situations where you need to be vulnerable and you get that signal like, oh, I'm in a vulnerable situation, I'm anxious, but then maybe you do it so many times that and like it turns out well, all of a sudden like you get anxious and you're like, oh, that's fine. Because like anxiety when you're not overcome by it can
Mhm.
also be kind of like an adrenaline boost to like,
Yes.
do something like that 1 2 3 go thing I was talking about.
Mhm, mhm.
So it's maybe it's kind of like that, or maybe I'm just making stuff up.
I can see how it works. I can see how.
um and then I guess another thing we are talking about is the benefit in relationships.
Strengthening relationships. It has the ability to strengthen relationships and build trust and build
Hmm.
intimacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Or just really close friendships.
yeah, I mean,
Like some of my
yeah,
friendships are very intimate, and like
yeah.
what I mean, we're just very close, and I yearn for that or that closeness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Understood. So besides the benefits, what are ways that we can work on being more um, you know, the thing we're talking about.
Vulnerable.
Thank you.
Vulnerable.
Damn, I'm tired
Step
already.
one, acknowledge them, name
Mm-hmm.
them, label them, right? Our feelings, our emotions, our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to describe how we feel is in our simplest terms.
Mm-hmm.
That can help us start to practice being more vulnerable. I'm feeling angry or I'm feeling hurt from blank.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday when I had a fight with my partner, that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So imagine you were describing how you feel went to a child.
Mm.
Like simple, easy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I'm looking
Um,
at your list here and I see my arch nemesis on number 2, journaling.
you don't like to
I
journal?
hate journaling. We already talked about this
Why don't you like to journal?
because my brain moves too fast for my hands.
Ah, I see. Well, this can be a very powerful tool, right?
Yeah, I know.
Um, it can help us articulate our feelings. It's kind of like you're texting, Leah. Like you've talked about in the past, like how you prefer to like text all your thoughts and feelings out so you can be articulate and
Mm-hmm.
clear. That's what journaling can do for some people. It can
Mm-hmm.
help them practice being more clear in what they want to say.
Offshoot of that, may I suggest, as like unhinged as this sounds, talking to yourself. Like I can't journal because I can't type nor can I write fast enough for the words in this noggin. So talking to myself, I'm verbally journaling.
I guess. I think the only issue with that is if you have short-term memory,
Yes, but
like issues.
yeah, but you could also record it. I know I have
That is
private like
true.
recordings for myself. Like I'm not posting them, I just have them. Um So I don't know, a little unhinged there, but that's my
No,
suggestion.
it's just another step if you struggle with journaling or writing or typing, right?
Mhm.
So the whole point is you're wanting to get your ideas down and out so you can be more articulate and more clear.
Yeah,
Oh, excuse
exactly.
me. Like I'm trying to like hiccup and burp at the same time. Excuse me.
Now we'll see if editor Leah remembers to take that part out, or if we're just gonna leave you embarrassed.
I'm not embarrassed,
All right.
but I think it might be a little like weird. I don't know. Like,
We'll
why
see
is
if I
that part of
remember.
the
I'm usually editing at like 1 a.m., so I don't know.
thing?
Okay, number 3, Lamont. What is number 3?
So how we've talked about this, right? Being assertive
Mm-hmm.
in a different episode.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dude, that was season 1.
was that season?
That
Oh
was
my god.
season 1, bro.
Yeah. So being assertive in our daily lives, it can help us, it can help our brains realize that we are capable of doing challenging things.
Mm-hmm.
You begin to cultivate confidence in your ability to express difficult things, which can help you feel equipped to express or acknowledge your painful emotions. In this, we become more emotionally vulnerable. Kind of think about it like reading, because I've been helping Leia's younger brother read. When he first started, the fear and the anxiety in his head
Mm-hmm.
was so much, it would just get in the way. But the more he practices, the more confident he gets, the
Mm-hmm.
better reader he becomes.
Yep.
So, the more that we practice assertiveness by using I statements, people in the eye, by using calm voices and staying in control of our emotions, the more we can practice emotional vulnerability and the more natural it becomes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Speaking of assertiveness, wait, yeah, we got time. I was assertive. I saw your little note down here about like telling your waiter your food isn't to your liking. I did
Oh
it
yeah.
twice last
Oh,
month.
really?
Look at me.
Last
Look
week
at
or
me.
last month?
I think it was last month, but it might have been, I don't know. The last 3 weeks have blended together in my brain.
Okay.
Um,
What happened?
but I
Tell
did
us the
okay.
story.
So the first time they made my drink, and I don't like caramel.
Mm.
And I always ask for like chocolate sauce on the inside. This is a Both of these happen at Starbucks because this is the only place I go.
Mm.
But I guess they're so used to people asking for caramel that they had just auto done caramel, and I get it. They're busy. So instead of just going, oh, I guess I'll just drink it or whatever, I went back up and I said, excuse me, they made this with caramel and it's supposed to be chocolate. And they took one look at it and said, okay, we'll fix that for you. And I was like, ugh. And then the second time, which I know was last week, they gave me my sandwich at the drive-through and it was cold. And I was like, what? Who gives you a cold sandwich? So I went back in. I'm like, excuse me, I need this warmed up. And he said, sure, no problem. So he took the sandwich. They gave me a new sandwich, nice and warm, and they gave me a gift card. And
Aw.
I was like, I did it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Enough about me.
So
Yeah.
if you're really wanting to um practice vulnerability, or you're having a hard time, or like just needing a place to start, seeking professional help, there's nothing wrong. Therapy or counseling is an amazing opportunity for you to practice expressing your emotions on a regular basis. Not only do they help you articulate your feelings, but your therapist also can help you acknowledge painful emotions that you may have repressed in your past.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I can't really speak too much from experience still, though, but that's another topic. But okay, I think we covered a lot. This episode is turning out to be longer than I thought, which I don't want to bore our listeners. So I think we'll wrap it up here. We may need to do a part 2 eventually because I think there's more that could be said about this topic in the future.
For sure.
But let's go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. You're still here, and I'm very happy for that. And if it's your
Yeah,
first
me
time
too.
here, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe or follow, depending on what platform you are watching and or listening to this on. Um, and yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah. See you guys in a few weeks.
Bye.
Bye. Today's life lesson is vulnerability is genuine strength and courage. Brene Brown once said, vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. It is the source of hope and empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose or deeper or more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. Vulnerability really means to be strong. It means to grow secure enough in yourself that you are able to show up in your life just as you. And remember, we are always growing, always changing, evolving, hopefully into better versions of ourselves. Vulnerability is genuine strength and courage. And that is today's life lesson.